Hi everyone, welcome back to The Learning Gardener. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Pip. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. And I just want to start this video by saying we've reached 1,000 subscribers, which is amazing. And I really appreciate everyone subscribing, because what that means is that now I'm going to be able to start to make some income from the ads that play with these videos on YouTube once everything starts getting up and running, and it gets me a little bit closer to that goal of being able to work from home. So I just want to say thank you so much. Today we are going to be dealing with this bed of potatoes. This is the last time I am planting or have planted potatoes in a Birdie's raised garden bed, because I just find you never get all the potatoes. They're almost like a little weed. There's always one left behind, and they're always popping up from somewhere, and it looks like there's a random dahlia that is now popping up from the middle of this bed. And I just find that potatoes don't obviously do well with every plant, so like they don't do well with tomatoes, because tomatoes are also a nightshade, and so if they're always popping up everywhere, then it makes it really hard to crop rotate and have companion plants. And plus I find in the garden beds they're a lot harder to manage. I find it's really hard to keep them watered, because you've got to put a layer of thick mulch on so that the potatoes don't become exposed to the sun and go green, and that is obviously much easier to manage in a potato bag. The other thing that is heaps easier to manage in a potato bag is essentially hilling your potatoes. So as they emerge from the ground, covering them with more either compost, dirt, soil, whatever you're using, bagged stuff from the hardware store, and mulch to enable as much production of potatoes as possible. And yeah, so this is the last bed. We're going to dig them out, and I do have volunteer potatoes in other beds, but we're going to dig them out today because all of a sudden they've gone all crispy, and I think some of that is the fact that it has been horribly hot and humid again. The other part of that is that these potatoes have been plagued with ladybirds that basically take off all the green of the leaf and leave just a skeleton of a leaf behind, and it's really hard to water and keep this ground moist through the thick mulch. I know that it's a little bit hard to see because of both the light and the fact that there's not really a lot of contrast here at the moment. It's all just green, but this is the exact same potato type as the ones we're going to dig up. These ones were planted a week or two later, and interestingly, one has like a berry up the top. That's weird. Never seen that on potatoes before, but you can see these are way taller. They haven't flopped over. They're looking so much healthier, and I think some of that is because I've been able to add more soil to support the green stem as it grows, and hopefully we'll get a great harvest from these. We'll see. But these are also Nicola potatoes. They're just grown in potato grow bags, and they just look so much happier than those grown in the garden bed. Just to give you something that's a little bit easier to see, these are red Pontiacs. These were planted only a few weeks ago, so way after that last lot of potatoes that I just showed you and the ones we're going to dig up. But again, you can see they're so much happier in this grow bag. I would have loved this grow bag to be a little bit deeper. Sadly, it is not, but something I discovered the first time I grew red Pontiac, which was this season, is that along the green stem, the potatoes really form the whole way along, which is not something I'd noticed previously on the Nicola potatoes. So I've been really diligent about lifting the soil level as much as I can, and I need to do these ones again. But I just find these are much easier to keep watered and happy, and they look so much healthier, and they're so much less bothered by pests. We've got 2 new potato bags that are not from the same company that I got these from. They are from Temu, and they're a little bit taller, and they actually would have been perfect for the Pontiacs. The Temu ones only feel slightly more synthetic than these ones, only slightly. And the price difference is massive. The price of the Temu ones, I'll check my email, but I think it was like $3, standard Temu pricing. But the same size from this company was like $56. So I'm going Temu from here on out. But what we're going to do is we're going to put some sweet potatoes in the Temu bags. They have been sitting on the deck in theory, trying to get some starts going, but they've been taking forever. So we're just gonna put them in the ground, let nature do its thing and see how it goes. And at least that way we will have potatoes confined to the bag. I tried to grow sweet potatoes in winter just for fun last winter, and no tubers obviously got going, so I pulled them all out. But I obviously missed some tiny roots or something, because in that bed, sweet potatoes are still trying to grow now. So I don't know that I will ever be free of potatoes from the raised garden beds, but at least this way I can contain them and I can obviously have healthier plants. So it'll be interesting to see what the sort of rate of harvest is in these versus in the beds, because the garden beds are a lot of real estate to hand over to just one crop, especially a crop like potatoes that takes so long. So we will see how we go, but for now this is the plan going forward. I can also then move them around to chase the sun, or in this case take a breather in the afternoon shade before we go and dig potatoes in the sun. I'm always looking for ways to make gardening lazier, and that's just because there's a lot for me to do. So what I do is I place a sweet potato that has started to sprout. So this is just a store-bought potato, and I place it in just a little bed of dirt in a clippy box. I really need to clean this clippy box out and use something else, but this is for now what it is. And what you'll see is off the side, usually the potato will grow these shoots. Often the potato down the bottom, where the shoot attaches onto the potato, you'll see the roots there. In this case, that hasn't happened, so I'm just going to bury the whole potato and it can sort itself out. But what I would ordinarily do, is you hopefully can see it a little bit better on this one, is the shoots are actually rooting out themselves, and so then I just cut that off and I don't have to put the whole potato in, and I can leave that to continue to produce more stems. But these two haven't produced a lot of stems, probably because I've completely neglected and ignored them, so we're just going to get them into the bag now. My experience is you can be pretty mean with your sweet potatoes, so I should have done this with a knife, but I can't be bothered to go back inside, and there we go. So I've got a whole root system attached to one sweet potato plant. So then this part is really easy. I'm just going to pop them in the soil that I've prepared and fertilized, and then this one I'm just going to stick the whole potato in, and we'll see what happens. It'll work itself out, and we'll cut off these other two and pop them in, and then maybe we'll get some sweet potatoes in a few months. Hopefully it'll enjoy the last bits of the summer heat, and that will get them going. I really meant to do this quite a bit earlier, but life, things get in the way, priorities change, and I endlessly forget about things that I'm supposed to do and get distracted by everything else that's happening in the garden, like these potatoes that all of a sudden need to be done, and that means that the things that I was planning to do today suddenly becomes all about potatoes. So let's water these in, and I'll mulch them up later, and we'll get these potatoes out of the ground. We do have some chives in this bed, and they will be staying in there, but we're going to be taking out these beets because they've been in here for ages, and I don't want them to go to seed, but also they're going to make the harvesting process a little bit easier if they're out of the way. So I'm just going to pull them. I've also got radishes that have gone to seed in this bed, and so as I go I'm going to try and preserve any dried seed pods, which if you watched one of our recent garden harvest videos, I showed you guys saving some radish seeds, but I'm not going to really put in a lot of effort because I don't need a ton of radish, so I don't need a heap more seed, but I do want them out of the way. So I'm going to grab the beets as we go because I harvested a bunch the other day that I still haven't dealt with, and so I'll deal with all the beets all at the same time, hopefully tonight. As I'm removing the greens of the radishes, I am going to, whatever seeds are not ready to be harvested, I'm just going to toss them in the bin because I don't think my compost really gets hot enough to kill seeds. I have repeatedly put grass in. I really try to not put grass seed in, but you know, like, that's possible to make sure no grass seed gets in there. But still, then I have germination of grass in the beds, so I just don't think that my compost gets hot enough to chuck a whole bunch of seeds in there. But I will chuck all the stems in, and they can turn into next year's beautiful soil. There have been heaps of the pest ladybird in the garden this year, but I mean, they haven't done that much damage. I do try and squash them every time I see them, so I think that has kept their numbers down, especially given I've been around a little bit more than normal. The other thing we've seen heaps of this season is wasps, which is a bit of a disaster because I am very allergic to bees, so I don't really want a huge amount of aggressive wasps, and they are all through the veggie garden. The other day I went to straighten up the pittosporums that are the privacy tree because in our 100km/h winds that we had recently, they have gone very, very sideways and nearly stuck my hand into a huge wasp nest. So we just took a brief break from doing this because my beautiful best friend, if you're watching, hey Ray, she just turned up and took the wasp's nest out of the tree for me because I'm a bit chicken to do it because of the allergy issues. Get him, Ray! Oh my god, it's coming right at you. I can't believe I nearly stuck my hand in that. Did you ever know that you're my hero?
Oh, there we go.
Ah! So thankfully now all 5 of the wasps' nests that I know of are gone. I am sure there are more. And I was telling her about the really cool side effect of having more pollinators and things in the garden is that we're seeing some native bees that I have never seen before and didn't actually even know existed before. So in the last couple of days I've seen my first blue-banded bees, which kind of look like a regular bee except their butt is blue, and the teddy bear bee, which is this huge orange bee. And we just, like, I was just telling her about this and a blue banded bee landed right in front of me, and then I was saying, oh, I wish a teddy bear bee would show up so I could see you, because there were 2 on the plant before and they're a very solitary bee. And then a little baby one turned up and it was all fluffy and awkward and cute and small compared to the normal ones, but it was amazing because we saw it and I've got that on footage, so hopefully you guys will enjoy seeing that. But we're running out of daylight hours, but thankfully the weather has cooled down a touch while we were getting rid of wasps' nests, and I'm gonna get these spuds all dug up now. I've done the initial pull and I'm really hoping that I'm going to find more with turning over the soil. It's not that this is not a lot of potatoes. It is a lot of potatoes, but it's not a lot to have come from such a large bed and to have dedicated so much real estate just to get half a basket of potatoes. I was at the shops today and I bought a medium-sized potato, similar size to this, and just for like to have something to compare it to, it was $1.30 for a potato slightly larger than that. So this is awesome, and they're all like, they haven't been sprayed with anything. Some of them look like they maybe have some sort of fungal issue, which again is, sorry, I'm a bit twitchy because of all the wasps, but the fungal issue with the potatoes is why I don't want to grow potatoes in garden beds anymore, because I don't want it to contaminate the soil for the other crops that are going in there. But if this is all that's come out of a bed that's 1.2 meters by 2.4, I think it is. Like, it's not a lot given the space that they were allocated. So I'm gonna turn the soil over now and hopefully we will find some more potatoes without stabbing too many. In order to get this bed ready for its next planting, what I'm going to do is pour chicken poo pellets in as I level the soil out. At least that gets some nutrition deeper into the soil bed. The soil is really dry and visually it looks a bit depleted, so I want to make sure I get some of that all the way in. I do have some beautiful compost that I bought in the car that I've used before that was such a lovely quality, but I definitely need to top this bed up. I needed to top it up before and I did top it up to the best of my ability, but I did run out of product when I was doing that, and tomorrow I'll also top it with some homegrown compost. But as you can see, we're pretty much out of daylight. The only reason I'm doing this now rather than tomorrow is, as you might recall, there was a dahlia sitting here in the middle, and of course the dogs trampled that when they were trying to help me find potatoes and trying to catch flies and lizards. So I did dig that up and there were some potatoes around the bottom of the tuber, so that was well worth doing, but I obviously need to replant that tuber if it's to have any hope of surviving, which is why I'm bringing the soil up quite high on this side, just so I can have something to kind of put it into and water it in, and then I'll deal with fertilizing beyond the chicken poo tomorrow. So here's the poor little dahlia that got squashed. So we'll just plant it nice and deep, cross our fingers, and hope Birdie doesn't squash it again. And that is pretty much all we can do for that poor dahlia tonight, apart from water it in. So I'm just going to finish putting the chicken poo in, and then at least that part is done. And then tomorrow I can top the bed and get some early brassicas in here, but I mostly just want to plant flowers in here. We definitely added to the haul of potatoes by digging through the garden bed. A lot of them were tucked into the corrugation of the Birdie's raised garden beds. Some of them were really, really deep. That is something I prefer about the red Pontiac potatoes, is that because they tend to grow along the green stem rather than off roots like the Nicolas, they're easier to dig up and tend to be more surface level, and therefore less digging. I can't say I'm going to miss digging potatoes out of a big raised garden bed, because it's a lot of work. But I mean, this is a great haul. Really happy, really grateful for it. I would have loved to have seen more come out of a bed this size, if I'm honest. Nicola potatoes tend not to be whoppers, so there's a little bit more work involved with processing them, but this is going to be great. I'm going to have potato for dinner tonight, but it is nearly 8 p.m. and we are rapidly losing light, and I am getting mauled by mosquitoes, which I feel is a theme of this summer. So I'm going to take my beets and potatoes inside, and again, thank you so much for subscribing to this channel and getting me to the point where I can start to make an income from these videos. I really appreciate everybody who's been following and subscribing and watching and liking and commenting. It's really been amazing. So thank you guys so much, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Oh my god! Oh my god! It's a lot more than I thought! A lot more than I thought! Oh my god!